Guys, we are back. You know the drill. My best friend is on Love is Blind UK, and we're going to talk about it. So episode 7, we see Joseph and Francesca catching up on how the meeting went. And Francesca lets Joseph know, her parents did really like him. It's just the marriage part that they're not sure about. And he says, he can't go forward with this marriage unless he gets the parents' blessings, which I completely understand. So now we are with AJ and Ciara, and they've gotten into a big argument off the back of his parents not feeling comfortable meeting her on camera, and she then went on to come for his character. And in that moment, he just wished that she could have been more comforting. He then also says he's not on board with, her dating lifestyle and her financial expectations in as it pertains to that. And what I will say, you can have a lot to say about Ciara, but the one thing I'll say is she's been upfront about that from the beginning, and he knew that. And did he play into that to get her? He was speaking about, he'll take her on Formula One dates and all of this. She laid her cards out on the table from the jump. This is who I am, and this is what I want. Devil's advocate. And then we see Ciara talking with Yasmin about the argument, and I'll say to Ciara, fair play. She took full accountability in where she went wrong. She was being indulgent. She holds her hands up. She is the one that was completely in the wrong in that, and calls out all the different things in which she was doing there. So I do have respect for that. She was clearly able to reflect on herself in that moment and be brutally honest, which not everybody can be. Can you sit there and say, I was trying to see how far I can push him, or I was being self-indulgent? Not everybody will openly sit there and say that. We then see Faye and Jack meeting his mum, and it's so beautiful because she's saying, I'm so happy that Faye is getting to see the Jack that I always knew. He's misunderstood, but I knew this side to him. And it was very relatable. I saw similarities with my younger brother. Growing up, I felt like he was quite misunderstood as well, and people would think, not similar to Jack, because Jack is very boisterous and out there, and people would just think, he's too much. But deep down, he's very soft and loving, and his character can get mistaken, and that can all get lost. And my brother growing up, maybe people would think he was antisocial and not that fun or whatever, but I saw that other side to him, and it's always beautiful. Now everybody sees that side to him. He's one of the funniest people. A lot of people know he's very out there. He's very people's person, but growing up, he took a while to warm up. So yeah, I definitely related to that moment. So we see AJ and Ciara meet up, and Ciara holds her hands up and she apologizes, and she was in the wrong. She was being self-indulgent. She should have been more supportive. She's fully taking accountability, and AJ's cool, next issue. So he says, all these nice dinners she expects, he can't afford it all the time. He should have said this in the pods when she was expressing it, but he's saying it now, and that's the most important thing. And I guess fair play. She's yeah, that's fine. She loves him, and all that other stuff doesn't matter. And it's I don't know, maybe are we seeing AJ put his foot down, and deep down that's what Ciara wants and respects. It came across before, she would say she wanted someone she could walk all over and does everything for her. But deep down, yeah, she'd respect someone more who's her equal and not a pushover. That's what I took from that whole moment. It was very interesting to see, but comment below your thoughts on the whole AJ and Ciara argument and how they resolve things and the expensive, just their whole, I'd love to know other people's thoughts on all of that. So we see Ryan come back from his work trip, and it's awkward. The love just isn't there anymore. Cuba jumps into his arms. He's quick to put her down. She's oh, I love your smell. It's I love the smell of your pheromones. He's oh, I smell like I've just been traveling all day or whatever. And she expresses how much she missed him. And he coldly replies yeah, I missed you too, but when I'm traveling, I've got a lot on my mind. It wasn't good. I don't know if I see these two lasting at this point. And then we see them a few days later. It's so awkward. They're in the kitchen. You can see she's like clutching at straws, wanting to make conversation. She's like, do you want some apple? He's just on his phone, uninterested. And he says, after his speaking engagement, like work events away, he needs a few days to just recoup and recharge, and he doesn't have that now. But it's like, you're not single anymore. You're engaged to be married. It's different. Like, unfortunately, you don't have that. Like, you have to meet in the middle when you're in a relationship. Maybe take the evening to recharge, and then you need to recharge your relationship. And that's something even like I'm learning from being in a relationship, because I had been single for like a long time and used to being focused on myself. Now that someone else is part of my focus, bearing in mind, I'm just in a relationship, not engaged to be married. So for him, unfortunately, yeah, these are steps you have to take, buddy. So Yasmin and Jordan go to meet his family, and they all seem to really like her. She hits it off with them. He's the only one that seems unsure, guys. Jordan's dad pulls him aside, and he's like, when this is all said and done, like, if he's moving to London, he wants to make sure that this is the right decision for the both of them. And he also says that he feels like, guys, this pains me to say, he feels like there's something missing in their connection, like it's missing that fire. And his dad does give him really good advice, like, she's an amazing girl, but is she the right girl for you? You've got to be true to yourself. And yeah, it reminds me of something my brother once said, like, just because someone's like a nice person, a great person, doesn't mean they're that great person for you. Oh, I mean, his mum gives her blessing and welcomes her to the family regardless. Guys, this is killing me. Guys, this is paining me. I really love them together. We're back with Cuba and Ryan. Ryan is still going on about, after he's performed, he's got a energy hangover and he needs a few days to get back to him. And that's why he's been in his head. So Cuba's like, she needs someone to be present. He needs to be more selfless. And he says he wants to, but that scares him. I don't know. He seems detached to me. And then part of me is like, maybe he should have taken the time off work so he could truly pour into this relationship with Cuba. But then I'm like, no, like, this is what it will be like in the real world. He's clearly just not ready for marriage or a relationship and the compromises you need to have. Like, I think it's simple as that. Comment below your thoughts, though, on the Cuba and Ryan situation. Quick side note, it's Faye's birthday. Jack sets up another cute little situation, like balloons and everything, for her to wake up to in the morning. I do like these two, and I'm going to have to start moving my attention because Jordan and Yasmin breaking my heart. Oh my god. Speaking of, Jordan and Yasmin are discussing meeting his parents. Yasmin seems like she's on such a high, and Jordan seems like he's on a completely different page. Like, they're just, And then she starts to talk about, like, what are the living arrangements going to look like? Initially, he said they'd move to London, see what that's like. But yeah, now he's saying, I do miss Birmingham. And she's saying, she's open to moving to Birmingham. All the couples meet up for a mixer / Faye's birthday. Faye's parents surprise them, so Jack gets to meet them a day early. And it's cute. Jack seems to be getting on really well with the family. Cuba and Yasmin are talking about Jordan, and it seems like Yasmin is like close to, if not there, being in love with Jordan, but waiting for him to say it, essentially. Cuba and Francesca have a conversation. This was crazy to me. Ryan said to Cuba when he was away, he missed her, but didn't think to message her. That is crazy. Like, this Ryan guy? Anyway, so we see Yasmin and Jordan talking, and he says, he'd hate for her to move to Birmingham, and it doesn't work out. And she's essentially saying, well, one of us has to move, and you don't seem keen, so I'll move to Birmingham. And again, he's reiterating, I feel like I don't want to waste your time. And she's like, if you don't want me to move, and you don't want to move, then it's done. And he's like, I'm not saying I don't want to move, I just don't know. And I'm like, ugh. Guys, this was such a hard watch for me. Like, I'm seeing the relationship crumbling at this point. The distance currently is his get out of jail. And I hate to say this because Jordan does seem like a lovely guy, but in this moment I'm like, you're not in this anymore. And she even says to him, is it just the distance or is there something else? And they agree to discuss it at home, and I do think that's best. Like, this party was not the environment to have this conversation. So we see Chevonique arrive, everybody goes over, all the guys, all the girls, they go over, say hi. Joseph, of course, goes over to say hi, not to be rude, and they decide to go and have a conversation for closure. So yeah, Joseph is letting Chevonique know that him and Francesca are doing well. They're going from strength to strength. So yeah, Chevonique is telling Joseph about her conversation, her meetup with Ciara, and it's just clear that information has been misrelayed, and you even see Joseph keep repeating, like, me and Ciara, like there was no issue there. He's very confused about the whole thing. Like, in his head, he didn't have an issue with Ciara at the retreat, so why is this being painted out like that and being, like, dragged out? So they call Ciara over to, like, let's just clear this all up. So Ciara is like, she heard from Francesca that Joseph wasn't happy, that Ciara brought up that Joseph and Chevonique had a connection. And this is what's getting lost in translation, because Joseph didn't have an issue with that. But the issue is, how it was painted is the last time he spoke with Chevonique, he left it open with her. And that's what's being, I feel like, glossed over. Comment below your thoughts on this. It's a whole game of telephone. Even trying to explain it out is frying my brain. And yet, Joseph says to Ciara, she didn't give the full context on how he said Francesca was a priority. So Francesca joins the conversation, and Chevonique basically asks her, what were you upset about? And she says, Chevonique wasn't transparent with her about what was going on, and she had to hear it from Ciara. And I hear both sides with Francesca and Chevonique. Like, I can see Francesca like, just tell me, why am I having to hear secondhand information from other people? But I also see where some people, everybody treats the experiment differently, and maybe Chevonique wanted to just, play her cards closer to her chest. So Joseph relays how the conversation in the pods went, and he said, Francesca was his priority, and in terms of vulnerability, him and Chevonique hadn't caught up to where him and Francesca were, and they didn't have time to get there. And Chevonique's like, is that how the conversation ended? Joseph says, that's what I said in the beginning. And Chevonique's like, I understand that's what was said. Maybe you don't want to discuss, like, she's alluding to, you don't want to talk about this in front of Francesca, which is a bit of a dig, because it's alluding to there is more that took place, like there's more that meets the eye. So now Joseph and Francesca, understandably, they will now have their backs up. And she's like, listen, he told me everything, tell me what he said. And I get her frustration as well. And so now they're in this back and forth, and Chevonique's like, listen, these things are all recorded, so now her back is up. And I will say, when you're in the moment, I've had conversations and I can remember things differently in different orders to how they were said, and it's just, we'll never know. We are lucky that all our conversations are not recorded, because I think we all have our own bias and remember things slightly different to how they happened. So yeah, now Chevonique is feeling like she's being accused of lying, and she's like, I don't have to lie. And I feel like this whole thing has been blown out of proportion because of the miscommunication, like how everything was relayed on Ciara's behalf. Like, she mixed some things up. And Francesca's like, listen, I'm not saying you're lying. Just tell me what was said. And Chevonique's like, that date was raw. We both laid things out on the table. And in that moment, you could have turned around and been like, listen, Chev, I don't feel anything for you. I'm going to focus on Francesca. And yeah, instead you said you didn't know who you were going to choose. And Joseph says, yeah, it threw a spanner in the works, but he didn't say he didn't know who he was going to choose. He could have been clearer on he's choosing Francesca. But yeah, he said he made it clear they couldn't catch up to where him and Francesca were. And Chevonique says, do you know what? I'm happy for you guys. I didn't come here to try and get in the middle of what you've got going on. I wish you the best. And, you know, Francesca's like, it's crazy how she just came here and dropped this bomb. I really do. Ciara is at the bottom of this whole misunderstanding. I feel like the words just got mixed up, and then Chevonique's like, she feels like they're attacking her, which they're not. They're just a couple. They're in unity, which you should be as a couple, and she feels like it's an attack. But Francesca makes a good point. When it was you and Ciara and Joseph was sat here by himself, and that was a 2-on-1, were you attacking Joseph? Yeah, it's a lot. I just wish Ciara had relayed everybody's words correctly, and I feel like a lot of this wouldn't have happened, personally. But comment below your thoughts. Are you more on Joseph Francesca's side? Are you more on Chevonique's side? Are you like me, where you feel like Ciara kind of mixed, like she set this all alight? So yeah, we see Jack, and he's saying, you know, meeting Faye's parents. He's on a high, like he's met Faye's parents. It's her birthday. They're having a good time, and he's even more excited to ask for her hand in marriage tomorrow. And then we see Faye, like, you know, slow down on the drinks. Are you drunk? There's a bit of an awkward moment between them, but it seems like they're okay. And then it's fast forward 6 hours later, and Jack cannot be found. Jack, my guy. So it's on to episode 8. So we see Joseph and Francesca catching up after the party at home. And yeah, she's basically like, I'm always going to have your back in public, but I need to know what's going on. And I agree, that's how it should be as a couple. Like, in public, you stand a united front. Behind the scenes, you talk everything through. But yeah, I want to know what you guys' thoughts are on that whole stance as a couple. But yeah, Joseph says this was their last hurdle. And yeah, he's just all the way in this with her. And Ciara was meddling. And I agree. That's been my stance throughout, as you guys have seen in this review. So we're back with Yasmin and Jordan. And she's asking him, listen, is distance the only issue? Because it seems like the only solution is I move to Birmingham. And it seems like you don't want this. And he's essentially like, let's put a pin in this for now. And at this point, I've accepted they're gonna break up. My heart is broken. I've begun my mourning process. But I just want to know what the switch was for him, because he seemed so into her before, like Jordan. So we're back at Faye and Jack's apartment. She's like, she woke up, he wasn't there in the bed. His Find My Friends is turned off. When she finally gets in contact with him 2 hours later, he's all the way in like West Ham or Stratford. And he's saying he went for a walk. She doesn't believe it. I do kind of believe them. Am I naive? Am I naive for believing Jack? And I did look it up from where they're saying, because they're in like the Canary Wharf area. To walk to West Ham or Stratford, it's about an hour to an hour and a half. So it's not quite 2 hours. So it is more believable that he'd walk for an hour. Just say, am I a fool for believing this? Comment below, do you believe Jack actually did just go for a walk? So we see Ciara and AJ, they're meeting his parents. The meeting seems to go really well. AJ, in his tradition, they present them with sweets and they accept it, and that's them giving their blessing, if I'm not mistaken. But it's so interesting, the nuance of humans, because when Ciara's meddling in everyone else's business, I'm not a fan. But watching the progression of her relationship with AJ and their growth, I like it. I like how well suited they are for each other. It's so interesting. So we're now back with Ryan and Cuba. Ryan's grandma is not doing well. She's ill, so he has to leave the experiment, which is really sad. But at the same time, I do feel bad for Cuba as well, because she's just been so alone in this experiment. And even in this moment, she can't be upset about the fact she's going to be alone again, because if she harps about that, it's insensitive. She's got to be there for Ryan. But it's been that this whole experience, I feel so bad for Cuba, man. Like, this whole time it feels like she's been focused on him and how he's feeling and yeah. Oh, Cuba. So we see Faye, and she's relaying to her parents everything that's just happened with Jack and him disappearing. Guys, I'm so sorry. It took me out when Faye's mom's like, it does seem weird that he'd do this in a pair of sliders. Like, I don't know why. I found that moment so funny. But yeah, her parents seem on edge. They're like, can you trust this man? I'm still recovering from Yasmin and Jordan. I know what's coming. I don't need Faye and Jack as well. Like, Taylor and Sophie, please. And lo and behold, we see Taylor and Sophie. They go to meet his family. They just seem locked in, guys. So they are keeping hope alive for me. Please, I repeat, please, do not be another Jed and Barda, please. So yeah, Jack returns to his apartment with Faye, and her parents are basically grilling him about the turning off the Find My Friends. This reception is very different to the night before, where they embraced him. Now it's like he's getting a grilling, and they're just telling him, like, be truthful. So we see Yasmin and Cuba meet up, and Yasmin is filling Cuba in on the conversation her and Jordan had after Faye's birthday party. And Yasmin and Cuba is a good friend. She's speaking life into Yasmin and also says a very key thing. A man knows what he wants, and she's basically saying his uncertainty should be an answer to you, should tell you everything you need to know. And then we see Jordan on the phone to his mum, and he's admitting there is a spark missing. Guys, I knew it was coming. I didn't know it. And his mum is basically like, yeah, you don't sound like you're sure, and you can't force love. You can't force your feelings. Be true to yourself and just be honest. And then he admits, yes, he probably was using the distance as an excuse. Bring on the heartbreak. My favorite couple is done. Oh, yeah, this is about to be a tough watch. So we're back with Faye and Jack, and they're just hashing things out. And she's like, you can go on your walks, but why did you delete me from your Find My Friends? I never thought I'd speak about Find My Friends this much. And he's just like, I don't know, subconsciously, maybe I was going off grid and like I wanted to be unplugged and all of this. And upon reflection, he's like, I should have messaged you to let you know where I was. And yeah, they do seem to squash things. Am I dumb? I actually believe he went on a walk. Guys, I think I've said it already. But comment below, do you think Jack actually went on a walk? I do. I actually do. Especially where he's like, his mind is busy. He wants to... I genuinely wrote in my notes, I think that's what it is. Have I been to Cornwall? I've never been to Cornwall. Maybe that's what they like to do there. Maybe they like to go on walks. If you're from Cornwall, comment below. Let me know. So we see Cuba and Francesca catching up. And Francesca asked Cuba a good question. Okay, yes, right now, Ryan is dealing with everything going on with his family. And, you know, he's been away with work. But when he's here, is he actually showing up for you? And she says when he's been away for so long and he's finally back, he's then on the phone and he's talking to other people. And she'd like if eventually it's her, like he could lean on her, but she doesn't know if he'll get there. And Francesca asks Cuba, what do you need to feel like you'll say yes and be content with your decision? And Cuba's like, I need to know if he can be selfless. I don't think he can, but... And Cuba's like, it's hard because I really love him. And Francesca in there with the fact, you loved your exes and they weren't good for you. Now that is a good friend. You need a friend to give you the real. And I loved this moment between Francesca and Cuba. She showed up with love, but also facts and hard love, like soft and hard love, I'd say, if that makes sense. Comment below what you thought about this moment with Cuba and Francesca. So we see Ciara, she sets up the flat to celebrate Diwali with AJ, and it is a cute moment. And I don't know, am I being duped? I'm actually, like I said, when she's out of the drama, I do like her with AJ. And she even says the night he didn't stay with her at the apartment, she was like, yeah, no, I can't lose this guy. And I feel like ever since then, she's been coming correct in the relationship, at least. Comment below, guys, though. Let me know what you think. Do you feel like this is the real deal? So we're back with Jordan and Yasmin, and he's saying, you know, he doesn't feel like the spark is there. And with the wedding in a few weeks, will it come? And yeah, she gets emotional, and she's like, you know, she could sense it wasn't just the distance. Guys, this... I know I keep saying it, this was a hard watch. I really, in the beginning stages anyways, I really like these two as a couple together. But I'm just like, where did they go wrong? Did he overthink that it was her first relationship and he didn't want to lead her astray and he just got in his head about that? Or was it just that there was no spark and it just wasn't going to come? I don't know. Comment below where you think they went wrong. Be gentle with me though, guys. I love them. They had, like I said, they had so much potential in the beginning, but yeah, that I got emotional in this scene. But side note, can I just say Yasmin looked good. That like slick back pony, the all black. I'm a huge fan of an all black fit tee. And then we see a preview of what's coming up. We've got the stag do's, we've got the weddings. Clearly, the drama is gonna keep coming. So make sure you're back next week. We will be getting into it. I can't wait. I can't wait for the weddings. Of course, I know some of the outcomes, but like I said, I'm keeping this a spoiler-free review, even though I know these are what my genuine reactions would be if I knew nothing. And these were the notes I took down the minute I watched the show. So, yeah, guys, thanks again for rocking with me. Like I always say, comment below. I love to get into conversations with you guys. If you have different takes, I'm so open to it. I love talking all things reality TV, like I always say. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure you're back here next Wednesday. We have the weddings. I think I might even dress up for the weddings. But yes, stay tuned. Thank you so much.